The ship's gentle current drifted through the cold darkness of deep space on its regular trade route. First speaker stood at the observation window, his four compound eyes scanning the stars. His body was thin and fragile by galactic standards. They were not warriors. They were traders and farmers and healers. The galaxy considered them weak and unimportant. The sensor officer made a clicking sound of alarm. First speaker, there is a vessel ahead. It is damaged and drifting. The design is unknown to our records. Move to the sensor display. The ship was small, clearly built for research rather than combat. Its hull was torn open in several places. Radiation poured from its broken engine core. No distress signal came from it. Perhaps the crew was already dead. Our protocols say we should avoid unknown species, the navigation officer reminded him. We do not know if they are dangerous. Studied the dying ship for a long moment. Someone is aboard that vessel. Someone is dying while we discuss protocols. Bring us alongside. The crew obeyed without further argument. This was why they followed. He led with compassion rather than fear. The boarding party wore protective suits, but even these could not fully shield them from the radiation. Medical officer was the first to enter the human ship. What she found made her heart ache. Bodies lay in the corridors. 5 crew members had died from radiation exposure. Their faces were peaceful, as if they had simply fallen asleep. Then she heard breathing, weak and shallow but breathing. In the medical bay, a human female lay on a table. She had wrapped herself in emergency blankets and sealed the room as best she could. Her skin was pale and covered in burns. Her hair had fallen out in patches. She had maybe hours left to live. First speaker reported through her communicator. There is one survivor, a female. She is very close to death. Bring her to our ship immediately. The radiation exposure will damage our medical equipment. It may harm our own crew. I heard you. Bring her to our ship. They carried the human female across the gap between vessels. Her eyes opened briefly as they moved her. She looked up its alien face with confusion but no fear. Then her eyes closed again. The medical team had never seen a human before. They did not know human biology. They did not know which medicines would help and which would kill. They worked through the night, running tests, making careful guesses, watching for reactions. Dr. Emma Collins woke 3 times during that long night. Each time, she saw strange insect-like beings working frantically around her. Each time, she felt a little stronger than before. The radiation from the human ship contaminated the medical bay. 7 crew members suffered permanent health damage from their exposure. The gentle current burned through its emergency fuel reserves, bringing Emma to a system with proper medical facilities. The ship itself would need months of repair. None of the crew complained, not once. On the 4th day, Emma woke fully. She was still weak, still sick, but alive, came to see her. He stood beside her bed, his thin body seeming even more fragile up close. I am first speaker, he said in careful universal standard. You are safe now. Your injuries were severe, but you will recover. Emma's throat was dry and raw, speaking hurt, but she forced the words out anyway. Thank you. Tilted his head. Among the gratitude was sacred. It created bonds that could never be broken. This human, this stranger from an unknown species, had just bound herself to them with 2 simple words. You are welcome, replied. May I ask your name? Emma Collins. I was a researcher. Our ship had an engine failure. The radiation killed everyone else so fast. I thought I would die too. You nearly did, but you fought to live. That strength impressed my medical team greatly. Emma managed a weak smile. I'm not strong, I just didn't want to give up. That is the same thing, said. Over the following days, Emma grew stronger. She learned about their peaceful culture, their position in the galaxy. She learned that they had risked everything to save her. Their ship was damaged. Their crew was injured. Their fuel was nearly gone, and they had done all of this for a stranger. Why, she asked one evening. You didn't know me, you didn't know my species, why risk so much? Considered the question carefully. Because you were dying, because we could help, does there need to be another reason? Emma felt tears in her eyes. In her experience, there was always another reason. People wanted something in return. People calculated costs and benefits, but they had simply seen someone in need and responded with pure kindness. My people need to know about this, Emma said. They need to know what you did. Made a gesture that Emma had learned meant uncertainty. We do not seek reward. We did only what was right. That's exactly why they need to know. The communication systems were primitive by galactic standards, but they managed to send a message toward human space. It was weak and broken, transmitted in rough universal standard. "We have your people, she lives, please come." 3 weeks later, a human ship arrived. Captain Leo Martinez of the patrol vessel Swift Response had received the relayed message and come at maximum speed. When he saw Emma Collins standing beside at the docking port, he felt his chest tighten with emotion. "Dr. Collins," he said, his voice rough, "we thought you were dead. Your ship sent a final distress call, then nothing. We searched for weeks." "I would be dead," Emma replied, "without them." Captain Martinez turned too. They was small, fragile, utterly non-threatening. He had compound eyes that glittered like jewels and delicate arms that looked like they might break in a strong wind. This small, fragile being had saved a human life at great cost to himself and his crew. Martinez extended his hand, had learned this gesture from Emma. He reached out and took the human's hand in his own. "On behalf of humanity," Martinez said, "thank you, we will not forget this kindness." Made the gesture of acknowledgement. "She is one of you, we could not let her die." As the Swift Response prepared to depart with Emma aboard, she stood at the viewport and watched the gentle current grow smaller in the distance. The damaged ship carrying its injured crew back to there. "They have no idea," she whispered. Martinez stood beside her. "No idea about what?" "What they've started, what we're going to do for them in return." Martinez nodded slowly. He had already sent a full report to command. He knew exactly how humanity would respond to this story. They had saved a single human life because it was the right thing to do. They had no idea that humanity would answer by saving them all. 3 months passed since Emma Collins returned to human space. In that time, her story spread across every colony, every station, every ship. News networks told the tale again and again. A dying woman in the dark of space, an alien ship that stopped when it did not have to, a crew that risked everything for a stranger. Humanity listened, and humanity remembered. The Galactic Affairs Council met in their great chamber on Earth. Admiral Grace stood before the assembly, her gray hair pulled back tight, her uniform perfect. She had served humanity for 40 years. She had seen wars and treaties and first contacts, but this situation was different. "They saved one of our own," she said. "They asked for nothing in return. They expected nothing. 7 of their crew suffered permanent injuries. Their ship was nearly destroyed. And they did this for a species they had never met." The council members shifted in their seats. They knew what was coming. "I propose we send a formal delegation to the," continued, "not just to say thank you, but to learn more about these people, to understand their situation, and to determine how we can help them." The vote was unanimous. Ambassador Daniel was chosen to lead the mission. He was a patient man, skilled in languages and customs, known for building bridges between species. Emma Collins insisted on joining him. She had recovered fully from her injuries and refused to stay behind. "Those people saved my life," she told the council. "I have to be there." The diplomatic vessel Horizon arrived at Prime 2 weeks later. There was a place of gentle beauty, rolling hills covered in purple vegetation, cities built from living crystal that sang when the wind blew through them. Everything about the planet spoke of peace and harmony. High Mother received the human delegation in her chambers. She was ancient by standards, her exoskeleton faded to pale silver, but her eyes were sharp and her mind was clear. "Humans," she said, her voice carrying the weight of authority, "we did not expect such a response to our small kindness." Ambassador bowed respectfully. "High Mother, what your people did was not small. You saved a human life when you had every reason to leave her to die. Humanity does not forget such things." Made the gesture of acknowledgement. "We did what any decent being would do." "No," Emma stepped forward. "That's not true. Most species would have passed by. Most species would have calculated the risk and decided it wasn't worth it. Your people chose differently. That matters." The High Mother studied Emma with interest. "You are the one who was saved, spoke of you. He said you were strong." "He saved me. All of them saved me. I want to thank each of them personally if that's possible." His eyes softened. "That would mean a great deal to our people. Personal gratitude is sacred among the, you honor us by offering it." Over the following days, Emma met with every member of the Gentle Currents crew. She learned their names, heard their stories, thanked each one individually. They were deeply moved. In their culture, such gestures created bonds that lasted lifetimes. But Ambassador was learning something else, something troubling. He met privately with Speaker, a younger leader who was willing to speak openly about matters the High Mother avoided. "Your world is beautiful," said, "but I sense there is pain beneath the surface. What are you not telling us?" Hesitated for a long moment. Then he pulled up a holographic display showing space. "We control 17 colony worlds," explained. "Or rather, we did. Over the past 3 centuries, the Dominion has taken 11 of them. They stripped the resources and left the land dead. The who lived there were either killed or enslaved." Felt cold anger building in his chest. Why has the Galactic Council done nothing? Because we are unimportant. We have no military value. We produce no strategic resources. The powerful species of the galaxy see no benefit in helping us. They pay their bribes and the Council looks away. That's monstrous. It is reality, Ambassador. We have learned to accept it. We survive by avoiding attention, by hiding, by hopping the grow bored with us. It is not a dignified existence, but it is existence. Returned to the horizon that night and sent an encrypted message directly to Admiral. His report was detailed and damning. They were being slowly exterminated by a predatory empire while the galaxy watched and did nothing. Response came within hours. "Continue building relations. Gather all intelligence on operations in space. We are mobilizing assets. This will not stand." Emma noticed the change in his behavior. He seemed more intense, more focused. When she asked him what was wrong, he told her everything. She listened in silence. These gentle beings who had risked everything to save her were being hunted to extinction. They had saved one human life because it was the right thing to do, and now they were dying while the galaxy ignored them. "What are we going to do?" she asked. Looked at her with determination in his eyes. "We're going to do what they did for you. We're going to help them because it's right, because they deserve to live, because humanity pays its debts." Back on Earth, Admiral stood before the Expeditionary Forces Command. Around her sat the most powerful military leaders in human space. She had just finished presenting intelligence reports. "They saved one of our citizens," she said. "They asked for nothing. They expected nothing. They simply did what was right. Now we learn that they are victims of centuries of oppression. The Dominion is bleeding them dry while the galaxy watches and does nothing." She paused, letting her words sink in. "I am proposing a response. We position naval assets near space. We make it clear that they are under human protection. If they continue their aggression, we answer with force." One of the commanders spoke up. "Admiral, they have a significant military. This could escalate quickly." "I'm aware of that. We would be going to war for a species we barely know, a species that cannot help us in return. The Council will ask what we gain from this." His eyes were cold steel. "We gain nothing. That's the point. They saved our citizen because it was right, not because it was profitable. We will protect them for the same reason." The vote was unanimous. 3 weeks later, the first human warships arrived at the edge of space. They ran silent, cloaked, waiting. They did not know they were there. They did not know either, not yet. But when the moment came, when the debt needed to be paid, humanity would be ready. High Mother received a private communication from Ambassador. "High Mother, I want you to know something. My people have not forgotten what yours did for Emma Collins. We will never forget, and we are prepared to prove it." Stared at the message for a long time. She did not fully understand what the human meant. She would understand soon enough. The raiding fleet emerged from hyperspace above the colony of Grace. 12 warships, bristling with weapons, descended upon the peaceful agricultural world like predators upon prey. Warlord commanded from his flagship, the Crimson Fang. He had conducted dozens of such raids. The pattern was always the same. They would panic, they would beg, they would offer whatever they demanded, and they would take what they wanted anyway. "Begin the operation," ordered. His reptilian features twisted into something like a smile. "Strip the northern continent's mineral deposits first. Kill anyone who resists." His ships began their descent. Then something impossible happened. Space rippled and tore. Human warships appeared from nowhere, directly between the fleet and the planet below. 8 destroyers, 4 cruisers, and 1 battleship. The UES Relentless, commanded by Jake Reeves, led the formation. His tactical officer hissed in alarm. Warlord, unknown vessels have appeared. They are human. They are heavily armed. Humans had heard of them, newcomers to this region of space, supposedly advanced but untested in real combat. What are they doing here? The answer came through the communication system. Commander Reeves' voice was calm and cold. Vessels, you are in violation of protected space. They are under humanity's protection. You will withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Laughed, the sound was harsh and grating. Protected space, they belong to no one. They are weak, worthless creatures fit only for labor. Who are you to threaten the Dominion? I'm the one with guns pointed at your ships, Reeves replied. Last warning, Warlord, withdraw now. His pride would not allow retreat. They were feared across the sector. They did not run from newcomers. He gave the order to attack. The battle lasted 11 minutes. Human weapons technology was far more advanced than intelligence had suggested. The Relentless alone destroyed 4 enemy ships in the first 2 minutes. Lieutenant led her fighter squadron through the chaos, her pilots moving with precision and deadly efficiency. Enemy destroyer attempting to flank us, her wingman reported. I see it, break left on my mark, Mark. Her squadron split and reformed, catching the destroyer in a crossfire. Its shields failed, its engines exploded, another ship died. Watched in disbelief as his fleet crumbled, 5 ships destroyed, 3 more heavily damaged. The humans had lost nothing, not a single vessel. Warlord, his tactical officer said, we must retreat, we cannot win this fight. For the first time in his long career, ordered his ships to flee. As the surviving vessels limped toward hyperspace, Reeves opened a channel to the planet below. People of Grace, this is Commander Jake Reeves of the United Earth ship Relentless. They will not harm you today. You are under our protection now. On the surface, farmers and workers stood in the open, staring up at the sky. They had watched the battle through their telescopes and sensors. They had seen impossible things, ships appearing from nothing, weapons of incredible power, enemies who had terrorized them for centuries running away in fear. And it was all for them, strangers from a species they barely knew had come to fight for them. First speaker received the news on the. He sat in silence for a long time after hearing the report. Then he wept. He was not ashamed of his tears. Among the tears of gratitude were considered beautiful. They came, he whispered. They actually came. The Galactic Council demanded an explanation. Emergency sessions were called. Representatives from 100 species shouted questions and accusations. Ambassador Daniel stood before them, calm and composed. They saved a human life, he said. They asked for nothing in return. They risked everything for a stranger. Humanity does not forget such kindness. We have extended our protection to space. Any attack on territory will be considered an attack on humanity itself. The ambassador, a massive reptilian named, rose to his feet. This is an act of war. They have been under Dominion influence for 300 years. You have no right to interfere. Influence? His voice sharpened. You call slavery influence. You call systematic genocide influence. They are a free people. They have been free since the day we decided they were. And if the Dominion wants to test our resolve, we are happy to educate you further. His eyes burned with hatred. The Dominion has 1,000 warships. How many do you have, human? Enough. The council session ended without resolution, but the message had been sent. Humanity had drawn a line. The question now was whether they would cross it. Warlord returned to Dominion space in disgrace. He had lost half his fleet to an unknown enemy. The High Command was furious, but their anger quickly transformed into something more dangerous, wounded pride. These humans think they can challenge us, the Supreme Commander declared. They are children playing at war. We will crush them and together. The Dominion began mobilizing its full military strength. Commander Reeves received the intelligence reports aboard the Relentless. They were gathering a massive fleet, hundreds of warships. They intended to overwhelm human forces through sheer numbers. He sent his assessment to Admiral. They're coming, he reported. Everything they have, this won't be a border skirmish. This will be full-scale war. His response was brief. Reinforcements are on the way. Hold the line until they arrive. They are counting on us. On Prime, High Mother addressed her people. Her voice carried across the planet, broadcast to every colony, every ship, every who could hear. For 3 centuries we have lived in fear. We have watched our colonies burn. We have buried our children. We have accepted oppression because we believed we had no choice. But today, everything changes. The humans have stood for us when no one else would. They have risked their lives, their ships, their future for us, because we showed them kindness, because we saved one life. She paused, her ancient eyes glistening with emotion. Now we must ask ourselves, what are we willing to do in return? We cannot fight as they fight. We do not have weapons or warriors, but we have hearts, we have courage, we have skills, and we have each other. The humans have given us hope. Let us give them everything else. Across space, something remarkable began to happen. Civilians volunteered for support roles. They offered their ships for supply runs. They trained as medics, communication specialists, logistics coordinators. They could not fire weapons, but they could do everything else. Emma Collins watched the transformation with tears in her eyes. She had been saved by strangers. Now those strangers were preparing to fight alongside her people. "It's really happening," she said to Ambassador. "They're standing with us." Nodded, "And we're standing with them. That's what matters. Whatever comes next, we face it together." The storm was gathering. The fleet grew larger every day. Human reinforcements raced toward space, and between them stood a people who had learned something precious. They were not alone anymore. War was coming, but so was something else. Hope. The Dominion attacked with everything they had. 300 warships crossed into space, spreading destruction across multiple systems. They burned colonies. They bombarded cities. They intended to crush thee and their human protectors in one overwhelming assault. They failed to understand what they were facing. Admiral Grace commanded the human response from her flagship, the UES Thunderhead. She had 60 ships against 300. The numbers looked impossible, but numbers were not everything. "All vessels, this is Admiral. The enemy has the advantage in quantity. We have the advantage in everything else. Remember why we're here. Remember who we're protecting. Now let's show them what humanity does when someone threatens our friends." The first major battle took place at Prime, the second largest colony. Commander Jake Reeves led the defensive fleet. His ships were outnumbered 5-1. He did not care. "Target their command ships," he ordered. "Cut the head off the snake." Human weapons tore through formations with devastating precision. The enemy had relied on overwhelming force for so long that they had forgotten how to adapt. When their admirals died, their fleets fell into confusion. The battle lasted 3 hours. The lost 40 ships. Humanity lost 4. But the war was not won in space alone. Private Hall was part of the ground forces deployed to protect population centers. His unit landed at the city of just ahead of an assault force. The city held 200,000 civilians, including a major school complex filled with children. "Defensive positions around the school," his sergeant ordered. "Nothing gets through, nothing." They came in waves. Their ground troops were brutal and relentless. They cared nothing for the lives they destroyed, and his unit held the perimeter for 18 hours straight. During the worst of the fighting, a missile struck the building behind them, was thrown to the ground, his ears ringing, his vision blurred. When he looked up, he saw children staring at him through a shattered window. Their large compound eyes were filled with terror. He got to his feet, he checked his weapon, he turned back to the battle. "Not today," he muttered. "You're not getting them today." The assault was finally broken when human air support arrived. Fighters strafed the enemy lines, scattering their forces. The children survived because humans refused to let them die. Doctor worked at the field hospital near the front lines. She had volunteered for this assignment, knowing the risks. Every day brought more wounded, both human and. She learned to treat injuries through trial and error, with help from healers who worked alongside her. The two species had different biologies, different medicines, different techniques, but they shared one thing: the desperate desire to save lives. "This one needs surgery," a healer named said, indicating a wounded human soldier. "But the damage is beyond my skill." Looked at the patient. Shrapnel wounds to the abdomen, massive internal bleeding. She had maybe minutes to act. "I'll guide you through it," she told. "Your hands are steadier than mine. I'll tell you what to do." Together, human doctor and healer saved the soldier's life. It was the first of many such collaborations. By the end of the war, human and medicine had advanced by decades through their shared experience. They could not fight with weapons. Their bodies were too fragile, their instincts too peaceful, but they found other ways to contribute. Speaker organized civilian support networks across all remaining colonies. Ships ran supply missions through active war zones. Communications specialists coordinated human fleet movements. Engineers repaired damaged vessels. Counselors helped traumatized soldiers find peace. They could not pull triggers, but they could do everything else. The war's turning point came at Grace, the same colony where the first battle had been fought. They had returned in force, determined to take the world as a matter of pride. Human forces were spread thin. Reinforcements were hours away. A strike team landed near the main city and began advancing toward the population center. A group of wounded human soldiers lay hidden in a bombed-out building. They had been separated from their unit during the fighting. They could not move without being spotted. Civilians found them. The patrol was approaching. If they discovered the humans, they would kill them. They knew this. They also knew what would happen to themselves if they were caught helping the enemy. They did not hesitate. When the soldiers arrived, they found only workers clearing rubble. The civilians lied convincingly, pointing the patrol toward a different sector. They moved on. Behind a false wall, 5 human soldiers breathed in relief. They had risked execution to save their lives. Strangers protecting strangers. Kindness answering kindness. One of the soldiers was bleeding badly. A young female stayed behind to treat his wounds, while the others led the patrol away. "Why are you doing this?" the soldier asked through gritted teeth. "You could die for helping us." They looked at him with her large, gentle eyes. "Your people came to die for us. How could we do any less?" The soldier survived. He would tell that story for the rest of his life. Emma Collins broadcast a message across all human networks. Her face appeared on screens throughout human space. She spoke directly to her people, her voice steady despite the emotions threatening to overwhelm her. 6 months ago, I was dying in the dark of space. They found me. They did not know me. They had nothing to gain from saving me, but they risked everything anyway. Their crew was injured. Their ship was damaged. They asked for nothing in return. She paused, collecting herself. Now they're dying beside us. They're running supplies through battlefields. They're hiding our wounded from enemy patrols. They're giving everything they have for people who were strangers a year ago. We came to save them because they saved me. But now we're fighting together. We're bleeding together. We're becoming something more than allies. Her eyes burned with conviction. We cannot let them fall. Not now, not ever. They showed us what kindness looks like. Now we show them what loyalty means. Reinforcements poured in from across human space. Volunteers flooded recruitment centers. Ships that had been held in reserve were deployed. Humanity mobilized like never before. Admiral received the reports with grim satisfaction. They had expected a quick victory. They had expected humanity to calculate the costs and abandon their friends. They had badly misjudged their enemy. All commands broadcast to the fleet. Prepare for the final offensive. We're ending this war, and we're ending it on our terms. They had saved one human life because it was right. Now humanity would save all of them for the same reason. The final battle was approaching, and when it came, they would learn the true cost of threatening humanity's friends. The final offensive began at dawn, Earth time. Admiral Grace had gathered the largest human fleet ever assembled outside their home systems. 120 warships moved as one toward the heart of military power. They did not intend to conquer, they intended to end. Warlord commanded the defense from his new flagship, the Eternal Fury. He had rebuilt his reputation through brutal efficiency during the war. Now he stood as the last line of defense for the Dominion. "They come to die," he told his officers. "Let us oblige them." The battle began in the space above Prime, the Dominion's military headquarters. Human ships engaged the enemy with precision and fury. Commander Jake Reeves led the assault wing, his destroyers cutting through enemy formations like blades through flesh. "Target their orbital platforms," he ordered. "Disable their ability to project power." Lieutenant flew at the head of her fighter squadron. She had lost friends in this war. She had watched good people die to protect strangers. Now she flew with their memory burning in her heart. "All fighters follow my lead." We punched through their screen and hit the command ship directly. Her squadron dove into the chaos. Fighters rose to meet them. The battle became a swirling dance of death, ships exploding, pilots dying, weapons firing in every direction. Locked onto the Eternal Fury, her targeting computer painted the enemy flagship in red. She whispered and fired. Her missiles struck the Eternal Fury's bridge. Warlord died instantly, his final thoughts lost in fire and vacuum. With his death, the command structure collapsed. The battle lasted 6 more hours. When it ended, the Dominion's military power was broken. Humanity had lost 17 ships and over 2,000 lives. They had lost everything. A new government emerged from the ashes. They were younger, less aggressive, desperate to end the destruction. They sued for peace on any terms humanity offered. The terms were non-negotiable. Complete withdrawal from all territory, full reparations for 3 centuries of exploitation, recognition of sovereignty, and a permanent non-aggression treaty enforced by human observers. They accepted. They had no choice. High Mother received the news in her chambers on Prime. She sat in silence for a long time, processing what she had been told. The war was over. They were free. For the first time in 300 years, her people could live without fear. She wept, not quietly but openly, loudly, without shame. Her attendants wept with her. Across the planet, across all space, her people learned the truth and wept together. The celebration lasted for days. Human and danced together in streets that had known only fear. Children who had grown up under the shadow of oppression played in open fields, laughing, free. Old ones who had never known peace finally understood what it felt like. A joint ceremony was held on Prime. Admiral stood beside High Mother before a crowd of thousands. Behind them, human and flags flew together in the gentle wind. Spoke first. Her voice was thin with age but strong with emotion. For centuries, we accepted that we were alone. We believed the galaxy did not care if we lived or died. We resigned ourselves to slow extinction. And then we found a human dying in space. We saved her because it was right. We expected nothing in return. She turned to face directly. You gave us everything. You fought for us when no one else would. You bled for us. You died for us. And now you have freed us. I do not have words for this. In all the languages of all the species I have known, there are no words for what you have done. Stepped forward. She was not a woman given to emotion, but her voice was thick when she spoke. High Mother, what your people did for Emma Collins was simple. It was pure. You saw someone dying and you saved her. You did not calculate costs. You did not expect rewards. You simply did what was right. She paused, looking out at the crowd of humans and standing together. We came here to repay that kindness. We thought we were settling a debt, but somewhere along the way it stopped being about debt. You became our friends. Your children became our children. Your worlds became our worlds. We did not fight for you. We fought with you. And that changes everything. The crowd erupted in cheers. Human and voices rose together, unified in joy. Monuments were built on both worlds. Not monuments to victory or conquest, but to partnership, to the power of kindness, to the bonds that form when strangers choose compassion over fear. Dr. Emma Collins became the first human ambassador to permanently reside on Prime. She married a human engineer named Cooper, a man she had met during the war when he was repairing communication systems. They built a home among the crystal cities and the singing winds. They raised their children there, human children who spoke as easily as English. Children who saw the galaxy not as a collection of competing species, but as a family waiting to be united. Years passed. The scars of war healed slowly but surely. A new generation grew up knowing nothing but peace between humans, and they served together on ships. They studied together in schools. They married and built families that blended both cultures into something new. One day, a young female named stood at the viewport of a patrol vessel. She wore the uniform of the United Fleet, the combined military force that now protected both peoples. Her human colleague stood beside her. My grandmother tells me stories about the war, said. About the time before humans came. It sounds so dark, so hopeless. Her colleague nodded. My grandfather fought in that war. He said they were the bravest people he ever met. They couldn't fire weapons, but they never stopped helping. Smiled, your people saved us. Your people saved us first, one life at a time. They watched the stars together in comfortable silence. On Prime, in a small home near the capital, Emma Collins sat with her gathered around her. They asked her to tell the story again. They never grew tired of hearing it. It started with kindness, she told them. A simple choice to help someone in need. They did not know what would follow. They did not know that one rescue would change the fate of billions. They simply saw someone dying and decided to save her. Her oldest grandchild, a girl with her grandmother's eyes, asked the question that everyone eventually asked. Did they ever regret it? Saving you, I mean, after all the war and suffering that followed. Emma thought about, now an old man like she was an old woman. She had visited him just last month. They had sat together in his garden and remembered. I asked him that once, she said. I asked if he ever wished they had passed by that day, if the cost was too high. What did he say? Emma smiled, her eyes glistening with tears. He said the cost of kindness is never too high. He said that when they found me dying in that ship, they had a choice. They could calculate the risks and protect themselves, or they could do what was right and trust the universe to answer. She looked at each of her in turn. The universe answered, we answered, and now look at us. Two peoples, one family, a future we built together because strangers chose kindness over fear. The sun set over the crystal city. Human and children played together in the streets. Ships bearing both flags passed overhead, traveling to worlds that had once been dark with war. They saved a single human because it was the right thing to do. Humanity answered by saving them all. And in the end, that was the only story that mattered.